Hi, I'm attorney Greg Dell here with attorney Stephen Jessup, and today we want to talk about the medical condition of strokes and how that relates to a long-term or short-term disability insurance claim. Now, we've represented numerous claimants that have unfortunately that have had strokes and then are forced to file a disability claim due to the limitations that come following a stroke. Steve, what's been your experience when dealing with a client that has a stroke and how the disability insurance company, at least within the initial 6 to 8 weeks after the stroke, treats the claimant?
I would say in the initial phase, there is that idea of imperative recovery, where I don't think there is adversarial. It's more likely that a claim will be approved at that point during the course of that time. But that can also kind of, lull people into a false sense of security as to what's going to happen once they think the insurance carrier thinks, they're past that point where they should be recovered enough to potentially return to work.
Right. I think that's been my biggest problem is that they give you probably a 6 to 8 week recovery, which seems crazy because when you think you have a stroke, you go to the hospital, you're often admitted, you spend a night or two there, and then it's a function of what are the residual injuries, damages to the person going to be. And very often from what I see is that you have physical injuries as well as cognitive limitations that happen to you following a stroke. And it always seems to me that the disability carriers are often saying, okay, it's been 8 weeks, you should be better. But I often find that many of the people who contact us are never the same, and it's a variety of complaints.
And I think the big thing is, as well as the physical effects of the stroke. Some people lose the use of an arm or a leg and there's numbness. It's easier to see, but on those cognitive things, it's another issue of you can't easily outwardly see it. So the insurance companies, especially if you're complaining of cognitive problems resulting from the stroke, they're going to make you prove that a little harder.
Right, so when you talk about things that we've done in the past to how do you prove that you've had a stroke, well, obviously you can have the CT or MRI scan of the brain, which will show that the person had a stroke. And then when you get into the cognitive limitations, that's when we start getting into things like neuropsychological testing to see if the person has any cognitive impairments. And very often we want our clients to see a neuropsychologist and have that testing done before the insurance company tries to send them to their hired gun neuropsychologists. Have you seen where the disability insurance companies are often trying to send someone to a neuropsychologist?
I don't know if I've had a lot of instances where there are. Usually they obviously, depending on the case, I guess, and what the review is, the type of the policy, it's more of a suggestion in a letter, like we don't see anything that documents the cognitive or neuropsychological exam. It's their way of, addressing it without telling you to go do it, and they don't want to fork the money out to do it often. But if you fail to provide it, especially on an ERISA policy, they're going to use that as a basis. Well, we didn't have any, neuropsychological testing or formal testing to document it. But I think maybe in cases where it may be an individual policy, where the law is a little different about things, you see more of a likelihood that they're going to inquire and try to push or have some type of independent medical evaluation with a neurologist.
Okay, and I've also seen, we've talked about the cognitive. On the physical, I often see following a stroke that a lot of people go through physical therapy, whether it's walking, using their arms, using their hands, all types of different things, and then they go through a course of physical therapy for 6 to 8 weeks and they plateau, and the disability carrier says, okay, we think you can go back to doing some kind of sedentary work. Obviously, if they had a physical manual labor type work, that would be very difficult, but the majority of clients we represent are not physical, hands-on, heavy-duty labor. They have sedentary type jobs. So that's very frustrating to deal with, and we understand what these claimants are going through, but the disability carriers try to take advantage of the claimants because the doctors often don't document the work restrictions in the records, and that's when the claimants get into trouble from my experience. So as you know, we work with the claimants and try to get them and their doctors to really document the medical records well so that they can prove that the side effects of the stroke is what's preventing them from working. So if you've experienced a stroke and you have residual disabilities as a result of your stroke, feel free to call us at any time, whether you have an application, an appeal, or denial. We're happy to help you. We will review your claim for free and let you know right away whether or not we can help you.